Hello, Professor. My name is Patience, and I'm presenting on organizational culture theory, analysis, trends, and future direction. And the introduction to organizational culture theory. Organizational culture theory is a framework to understand how values, beliefs, behaviors, and norms influence organizational effectiveness. Key premise is culture profoundly shapes performance, employee behavior, and strategic direction. This statement captures the essence of the theory, emphasizing that organizational culture isn't just a background element. It plays a central role in how effectively a company functions, how its people act, and how it plans and pursues its goals. There are some key theories in organizational culture theory, and organizational culture theory has substantially influenced by several key scholars, each contributing various perspectives and frameworks. Edgar Schein is often regarded as the father of organizational culture theory. His model includes 3 levels of culture. That is the artifacts, visible elements of culture like dress code, for example, like the doctors and the nurses use in the hospital, and office layout or rituals, easy to see but hard to interpret. That was what he said. And espouse values are principles or values an organization claims to follow, such as teamwork or innovation. And the third one is basic underlying assumptions, deeply ingrained beliefs and unconscious behaviors that honestly guide actions are often taken for granted in organizations. So Schein's work provides a foundational understanding of how culture shapes organizational behavior and effectiveness. And another person, is Hofstadter's cultural dimensions. Gans Hofstad, his theory was on cultural dimension theory, known for his research on cross-cultural communication. Hofstad introduced culture dimensions theory, which helps compare and analyze different cultures in organizational contexts. His work emphasizes how national culture impacts organizational culture and practices, making it highly relevant in multinational settings. And the last person is Denison's model of culture. His was on key dimension: involvement, consistency, adaptability, mission. Denison has also made significant contribution, mainly through his research on how organizational culture relates to performance and how those factors contribute to organizational effectiveness. So based on that, I will speak on the core elements of organizational culture. That is the values, the norms, the symbols, and the rituals and ceremonies. Like the values is what the organization considered as essential, and the norms, the unwritten rules and expectations regarding behavior, and the symbols are sometimes the logos, the slogans that we see organizations use, and also the ritual and the ceremonies, established routines that reinforce culture values. And the importance of organizational culture. It helps leaders understand how culture influences job satisfaction, motivation, and employee retention. It also shows how culture can either support or obstruct the successful execution of an organization's strategic goals. Another important is foster a sense of identity and belonging. So a strong culture unites employees around shared values, creating loyalty and teamwork, and also guides decision making and behavior. Culture shapes how employees respond to challenges, interact with others, and how ethical choices, even without direct supervision. The mechanisms of cultural change. Organizations can actively shape and change their culture through various mechanisms such as leadership behavior, hiring practices, and training. And this is especially critical during organizational change or crisis, as culture can resist or support strategic shifts. So, the perspectives in organizational culture theory. I will speak about the functional perspective that focuses on how culture serves organizational functions such as achieving goals or maintaining their stability, and also the leader trait perspective. They examines the role of leadership in shaping and transforming culture, and the last one is culture transfer perspectives. It also looks at how culture from other organizations or previous role of leaders impacts the current organizational culture. Based on that, I'll speak on the current trends in organizational culture theory research. I have identified these three trends, that is the growth in publications. So from 2018 to 2023, there has been this trend that suggests a growing interest among scholars regarding the implications of organizational culture in dynamic work environment. And also there has been the use of mixed method approach, that is both qualitative and quantitative approaches are now predominant in their search, and this methodological diversity is crucial for capturing the multifaceted nature of culture with organizations. And the last one is there is a focus on external influence. Recent studies have addressed how factors such as the market dynamics and technological changes significantly shape organizational culture. The impact of crisis, for example, is the COVID-19 pandemic, is also recognized as a critical element influencing culture shift. The key debate in OCT, that is definitions and dimensions. So there has been this debate on it, that there is an ongoing debate regarding the definition and dimension of organizational culture. While specific dimensions, for example, innovation, teamwork, are frequently cited, there is no consensus on which dimensions are universally applicable across various organizations. And also culture transfer. The concept of culture transfer is also another debate, because during this leadership transitions arises questions about how leaders' background influence organizational culture, and this debate involves around the implications of past experiences on current organizational dynamics and employee engagement. So I will also speak on the gaps in knowledge. Empirical evidence. Despite theoretical advancement, some conceptual papers lack empirical validation, raising concerns about the generalizability of their claims. This gap suggests a need for more rigorous empirical studies that test theoretical frameworks against real-world scenarios, and also integration of dimensions and orientation. There is a gap in understanding how different dimensions, specific culture traits, and orientation, that is the broader culture tendencies, interact and influence organizational behavior. So more research is needed to bridge this concept and further comprehend how they coexist and affect organizational dynamics. And also on cultural adaptability. Given the rapid changes in the workplace, there remains a lack of insight into how organizations can proactively manage their culture to align with evolving goals and challenges. So, future research should explore mechanisms for fostering culture adaptability and response to external pressures. And the last one is leadership styles and their impact on culture. So, the relationship between leadership styles, transformational, transactional, etc., and organizational culture requires more exploration. And understanding how leaders shape and influence culture and how their traits affect employee behavior is vital for effective culture management. Relevance in today's context. In today's context, there is a recent research reaffirms the profound relevance of organizational culture in today's context, particularly as organizations navigate increasingly complex and uncertainty. And this finding suggests that um, fostering a robust, adaptable culture can significantly influence organizational effectiveness and employee satisfaction. Critical evaluation of studies. In the critical evaluation of this study, I have acknowledged the strength and the weaknesses. So, in the strength, there is a coherent framework and diversity in methods. And the authors present a clear point regarding the dimension of organizational culture, its dimensions, and its influences on its formation and change. For example, they articulate the impact of leadership and external factors on culture, providing a coherent um, framework for understanding these dynamics. However, while several claims are made regarding relationships between dimensions of culture and organizational outcomes, the evidence supporting these claims varies in strength across studies, and the weakness is inconsistent empirical grounding, over reliance on conceptual analysis. Also, there is a lack of measurability and objectivity. Organizational culture is often abstract and complex to measure objectively. This makes it challenging to assess accurately. So the methodology and analysis review. When I did that, the qualitative studies was a strong statistical method and generalizability. And also the qualitative study, there was a deep of insight but limited scope. And sample size, there was a varied affecting external validity. The language, logic, and argument coherence. So there was a clear, precise language is mainly was used to make complex ideas accessible, and also occasional logical fallacies and assumptions were also noted. And there was overuse of some jargons that can hinder understanding. People who were reading the articles, it could make it very difficult for them to understand whatever they were doing. So the conclusion and recommendation. In this conclusion and recommendation, organizational culture theory is vital for navigating modern business dynamics. And also, there should be a future research that must focus on empirical rigor in diverse cultural contexts. And OCT remains a cornerstone, that is the organizational culture theory. It remains the cornerstone in understanding and shaping organizational success. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do this presentation. So these are my references from where I got those articles, and these are the remaining references. Thank you.